Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel and thanks for logging on. If you enjoy these videos, do me a favor and subscribe to our YouTube channel right here at Watchbox Reviews. I would really appreciate it and I promise to update daily. If you love this watch, you can see it and you can purchase it on our website, thewatchbox.com. Today, we're discussing one of the best Zeniths of the 2000 era. Under Nataf, huge investments were made in cases, clasps, movement, and design. Not all succeeded, but those that did will stand the test of time and stand out as some of the best buys for the money pre-owned. Today, we discuss the Zenith Defy Classic Reserve de Marche Diver, a handsome 43mm stainless steel watch that is all Zenith, a true manufacturer product. It feels absolutely invulnerable, a dreadnought for the wrist in stainless steel. On my 16cm circumference wrist, this is one of the best of big. Back when big watches were the thing in the 2000s, this would have been one of the standouts and one of the few that hasn't aged or dated. It's not a thick watch. In fact, 15.2mm thick, it surprised me. I expected it to be like a Rolex Deep Sea. This is about 2.5mm thinner than a Deep Sea. And lug-to-lug, the watch is a surprisingly constrained 50mm. If you count the end links, it does flare out to 53.4, but I can still recommend this watch for a wrist as small as 14.5cm circumference based on how it's fitting my wrist. Nataf, who was president, CEO, and chief designer all at once at Zenith, understood that broad lug spacings were the wave of the future for modern watches. So rather than having a pinched bracelet lug junction like the first generation Rolex Deep Sea, this one came from the factory with a 21mm lug spacing, so the relative proportion of bracelet end link to lug looks proper. Now, money was spent on clasps, and they are solid clasps. During the Nataf era, the apertures for strap tools went away, the lugs became solid, and everything just became more substantial. You can see that this is an imaginatively designed bracelet with a combination of staggered alignment, differential finish, and differential link size. There is a horizontal finish. You can see it's not actually a longitudinal satin. There is a horizontal finish that runs across these links, and it continues onto the flank where the vertical satin actually transitions to the horizontal satin. Appreciate the fact that the diamond plate, or clou de Paris, pyramid perhaps style of the center links is perfectly keyed to the design of the dial, so there's a lot of design continuity here. The removable links are fixed in place by screws. You can see the underside has big gaps to avoid pinching skin, pulling hair, or trapping wrist heat. This is a great sports bracelet. You'll also appreciate the presence of a half link for more precise sizing. The clasp is a monstrous affair. Every component is thick. A lot of metal was used here. Differential finish, both satin and polish, and a double swing arm design that's a bit more wrist friendly than a single swing arm deployment because it doesn't have the one big up and over fold that can pinch a wrist. Now, moving back to the case, the end links are nicely integrated to the curve of the case as well as the height of the lugs, and you'll appreciate that there is a hand-finished bevel along the lugs. You always know when you see these diminishing, tapered bevels that thin out at the mid-case and flare at the lugs. When they're this narrow and rounded and optically smooth, this is hand-finishing right here. So an impressive little bit of flourish for a rather rough and rugged diving instrument. You can also see that the ends of the lugs are surprisingly complex with a combination of creases and curves, multiple facets and finishes. Nataf, I thank you. Getting rid of crown guards on a dive watch, they're useless. If you actually damage a watch sufficiently to require the intervention of crown guards while it's still on your wrist, you're going to lose some chunks of your hand. So I would prefer to just have easy access to a sharply knurled crown so that I can actually operate my dive watch when my hands might be wet, sweaty, or gloved. The bezel is a wonderful piece. You can see there's sharp knurling outboard and rider tabs on top. The detent is crispy. I would put that in the upper 10% of dive bezels I've experienced. You also note how richly and, well, somewhat elaborately finished it is. It has both applique pieces that are inserted into the bezel as well as molded components and a radial sunburst reminiscent of 1970s case finishing. Easy to grip, it sounds great. You can line it up with the minute hand and now you've got a 0 to 60 timing organ with no need for a chronograph mechanism. All applique hour indices as well as numerals, an upscale look. You can see that the dial base is a matte black with that pyramid pattern and sub-registers, both fully loomed sub-registers for constant seconds and power reserve. You have skeletonized, polished hands at center, baton style, and you have a Cyclops eye magnifier that's actually inverted. It's underneath the sapphire so it doesn't stack up on the top and pose a loss risk if you should shear it against a hard surface. Screw down crown, 300-meter water resistance. The watch features both stop seconds and a quick set date, but let me just make sure we're not in the danger zone for the date right here. Okay, clearly that wasn't PM. You can actually move the date in either direction. See, it's bidirectional. That's one of the features of the Zenith Elite caliber. The Elite, launched in 1994, was one of the first Zenith calibers to be designed with the assistance of a computer, so it has hacking seconds generally not found on the El Primero, and a bidirectional quickset that no El Primero features. You can see the movement's actually properly sized for the case, but it's just so thin that this big burly stacked diver has to have a large spacer ring to add some thickness to the case. 300 meters water resistant. You can see the balance actually protrudes underneath the spacer, so the movement's perfectly sized, no issues there. Automatic winding, 50-hour power reserve, bidirectional quickset date, hacking seconds, 28.8 beat rate, 38 joules with the power reserve scale. This is a watch that does it all. See it and do it all on your wrist on the watch box. Zenith Defy Classic Diver.